screaming. And he said, we didn't raise you that way. And my mom asked me how many people I'd been with, and at that point in time, I had never even had sex with anyone. I was a virgin. I was innocent, and I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I could see if I had been sleeping with people, how they could get upset about that, because that's something you need to be doing when you're older, according to most parents. But this was just flat out, we didn't raise you that way. Anger, frustration, screaming, hollering, and it was so bad. I was actually getting undressed during the argument to put on my sleep clothes, and I was in a pair of underwear whenever this finally hit the fan. And I started crying, and the tension was so horrible, and the anger. My sister had to leave the room, and I got to the point where I felt scared for myself. Like, I've never had my parents lash out quite that way to me. And so I ran out the door without shoes on, in my underwear, at about 10:30 at night. And I ran down the street, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran. And I ran to a friend's house, and I knocked on the door, and no one was there. So I ran to another friend's house, and that was out of town. So I ran all the way out of town up this great big hill, and I went to his house, and I knocked on the door, and no one was there. And I just felt hopeless and utterly alone. And I ended up getting down the hill and about to the Sonic. I was running through downtown, and I was going to the Sonic because that's where everyone hung out. All my quote unquote friends at the time, they were the only friends I'd probably ever had. It was the last year of my high school year. I made some pretty good friends, and I ended up getting stopped by a policeman named Officer House. I'll never forget him. He gave me a ticket one time. I could not stand him at that point in time. But anyway, he got out of the car and he said, "Shane, you need to get in this car." And I'm like, "I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you putting me in a cop car?" And he's like, "You're running down the street in your underwear." And I said, "Is there a law against that? Because I don't think that there is. I see women in bikini tops all the time running down the street. I think I'm okay." And I told him to get his ass back in his car and to leave me alone. He was harassing me. And about that time, the chief of police was a friend of the family's, and he pulled up, and Chris is his name. He convinced House to go away, removed him from the situation, and talked to me very adult. He said, "Your dad's called us and said that you ran out of the house, and he wants us to bring you back." And I said, "I don't want to go back." I said, things are really bad, and I don't want to go home." And he said, "Well, what's going on?" And I said, "I don't want to talk about it. My mom would be embarrassed. She's important in this city, and I don't want to do that to her." And I said, It's none of your business, really, is what it comes down to." And I said, "So I'm going to go away." And he said, "Well, will you come with me so I can at least get you clothes from my house?" And I said, "Sure." So he got me in the car, took me to his house, got me some clothes, put them on, and we drove around all night long. And we just talked. And he finally looked at me and he said, "Are you ready to go home?" And I said yes. And I went home. I was scared to death. I was shaking. Walked in the door. My parents talked very horribly to me. They gave me two choices that morning. They said I could either stay, or I could stay, but I had to be straight, or I could leave. And I told them that there wasn't a choice. I said, "I'm gay, and I can't change that, and I am going to have to tell you that I'm leaving, and I don't feel like I have a choice." And they said, "Well, you're choosing to leave. You could be straight. You could if you wanted to." And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't. I can't lie to you anymore." I said, I've lied for too long about it. And one of the biggest issues I had was I told him, I said, "I'm the same person that I've always been. You just know one little detail about me. I still play the piano. I still am a kind, loving, honest, gentle person. I had one lie that I told for so long that it destroyed my relationship with them. And it was a necessary lie, and I don't think there are many. But in this case, you saw the reaction I got. If I was 17 in Texas, you're emancipated at 17. You're legally an adult, so I could leave. But if I had told my parents this any sooner, a few days sooner, because my birthday was in March and this is all in June, if I had told them any sooner, my mom was, even as a 17-year-old, was trying to get me to go to Exodus camps, and I don't know if you know what that is, but they're camps where they change you. Try. Say that they convert homosexuals to heterosexuality. And we all know that's bullshit. And I'm sorry, but I'm never, ever, ever going to condone anyone sending someone to something like that. And I hope a child never feels like they want to go to something like that, because that just sounds like brainwashing and what is Stockholm Syndrome and all that. So don't ever let it get that bad. But that's the reason I waited so long, and I lied, and I told everyone I was straight. And so those lies have caused many, many years of pain and suffering for my parents now, and it's been 10 years. We are talking. It took them 6 months to a year to talk to me, and then another 5 years to really become face-to-face again. And then 10 years, roughly 10 years, I introduced them to a guy I was dating, and they were very, very nice to him. They hugged him, and my nieces and my nephews love him, and we are no longer dating, but he's still a part of the family. So they've come a long way. They're still not all on board with it. They have a lot of issues with it, but they have come a long way. And you can't expect people who were born in 1944 and that are 60 years old to 70 years old to change their ways overnight. And that's part of what this journey is for people in life, is change and adaptation and wanting to strive to be better people. And my parents, I think, are far from there, but they are getting there. Trying to think of anything else. Don't do what a lot of people do. Whenever I got kicked out, I chose to do some very bad things. Like I wanted to experience everything that my parents told me was bad, and because I didn't have their guidance anymore, and they had hurt me and cut me so deeply. I was lashing out and quote unquote rebelling. I don't feel like I was in a logical rebel, or no, conscious rebelling, but I did rebel. I got into things and did many, many things that I shouldn't have done, and things that I can't ever take back. Nothing horrible, but things that should have not been in my life plan. And so don't use drugs and sex and stuff like that as escapism from your issues. You need to deal with them head on, and if you do have something happen, don't destroy your life because your parents don't accept you, or your friends, or whoever, or whatever. And don't continue to do what they're doing. They're trying to deconstruct you and to make you feel small. You don't need to make yourself feel small. You need to empower yourself and embrace yourself and love yourself, and make sure that you're making your life better and not destroying it, which is a lot of what people do whenever they're in depression, is they tend to destroy themselves. So, having all that, that's my story. It doesn't